This is Abundantly Clear, a Malorie podcast designed to help you further understand the concept of abundance and put it into practice to build the business and life of your dreams. We'll be breaking barriers of conditioned belief, the standard rules of marketing, and empowering you to achieve real success, allowing you to make a greater impact and live a fulfilled, purpose-driven life with ease. Welcome to the conversation, the stories, the science, and the synergy of living life abundantly clear. Now, on to today's episode.
Welcome back to this week's episode of Abundantly Clear. Today we have Anie B, who is a realtor and real estate agent in Seattle, Washington. And I'm super excited to have Anie on the show today because we are going to learn so much from her about what it means to really reach your goals through a place of service. Anie, welcome to this week's episode. We're so happy to have you.
Hey! Oh, so glad to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Yes. So Anie and I have talked a little bit, and she just has a really awesome story about, graduating from college in the middle of a recession and basically paving the way for her life. Anie, I would love to hear a little bit about some of that background story, if you don't mind sharing a piece of that for everyone that's listening.
Absolutely. So graduated from college, like you said, right around the recession. I was attending the University of Kansas. And I don't know if anyone's ever been to Kansas. If you're from Kansas, awesome, rock on. That's great. But, Kansas is a good place to kick it for a little while. But I was originally from Orange County. So living in Kansas was a bit of a shock. And graduating from college, I knew, that was not my forever place. And I had to get back to the West Coast. But, like I said, I graduated in the recession and finding a job was hard. I graduated with an art history, graphic design degree. It's like, what do you do from there? Most kids looked to their parents to help them out after college, move back in. And unfortunately, my parents suffered a lot during the recession and they were unable to help me out. So I was pretty much on my own. Decided to join AmeriCorps. Why the hell not, right? They're like, hey, we'll help you pay back some of your student debt. We'll take you here. We'll take you here. You'll have a job. And that was really important to me. So I found a program. They're like, sweet, we'll take you out to Seattle. Awesome. I'd never been to Seattle. I'm like, let's do it. Let's rock and roll. Got out to Seattle and loved it. Was working as a mentor and a tutor with underprivileged children in King County schools, making about $680 a month. And for those of you who aren't in Seattle, that is not rent, right? Like you cannot survive.
I mean, to be honest, that's like, I'm not even being dramatic here. That's sometimes half of rent. Like sometimes.
Yeah. Like, yes, very much so. So I was making that per month, living off food stamps to barely survive. We were talking earlier, like there are a few times where I was just like, I'm having a grapefruit for dinner because that's literally all I can afford. I got a second job. So I was working about 80 hours a week and woke up every morning and I was like, this can't be life.
Yeah. Like
this is not what it is. And I was like, how do I stop the grind?
Yeah.
And how do I get to a place where I'm actually living? And in those points of time, I found yoga, which I feel like was a huge turning point in my life. I was volunteering at a Bikram yoga studio in Capitol Hill. And mind you, this is back when they didn't have those nice squeaky floors. They had carpets. So I was responsible for like deep cleaning the carpets after the hot yoga classes, which was absolutely disgusting. But hey, I got free yoga. And so it had its purpose. I still can't believe I did that, but whatever, right? I needed my yoga.
I love it.
But through that practice, I found a lot of grounding and I was like, you know what? There's another way.
Mm-hmm.
There's another way. So I decided to become a yoga teacher and was like, if I can find this sense of grounding in the chaos that is my life and in the suffering that I'm feeling and in the struggle and the chaos that I don't know how to get out of, then, I know I can pull myself out of this. So I did my yoga teacher training. Mind you, I was so thankful to the owner of Hot Yoga, Queen Anne. She actually let me finance my yoga teacher training, which she never does because I didn't have the money to do it. And I met some amazing people. And that kind of took me in the direction where I am now. I met a woman through my teacher training who was a real estate agent. And she took me under her wing and she was like, hey, I know you need some extra cash. You're really struggling. While you get on your feet, come be my assistant. And during that time, I learned a lot of things that you shouldn't do in business. But this one,
I like that. A lot of things that you shouldn't do in business, which if you're listening to this, I've also experienced a lot of things that you shouldn't do in business, but that just is part of the learning process to figure out like what works for you and what's right for you in business. Totally. Love the way that you just said that.
And this woman was doing a lot of things that I felt were not best practices, should I say, but she was extremely successful.
So her fundamentals are a little bit different than your fundamentals, and what she created, although looked pretty, wasn't exactly how you wanted to pave the way for yourself.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I every time I would meet with her, or we'd be working on something, I'm like, man, how is she so successful with this as a business model? If she can do it, I absolutely can do it. And I have to admit that I got my real estate license almost out of spite, just to prove that I could do it, that I could be successful. And I didn't mean to get into this business, but when I did, it took off like wildfire.
Wow. So you literally, like at that time, it's almost you got this intuitive head of like, you have to do this because there's something inside of you that's it's more than selling houses. It's more than, what's on paper. It was a part of you that wanted to pave a different path for yourself.
Absolutely.
And what it meant to make money and what it meant to do business and what it meant to have a relationship with people. Absolutely. And all of that stuff was just like, I have to do this to show myself, not even really show anyone else at that point, but show myself that this is possible in another way.
Absolutely. 100%. And I have to give some credit to my life partner. He is actually a mortgage banker, and ever since I met him, he's like, Anie, you would be a phenomenal real estate agent. He's like, you just care. You just care about people. And I hate to use this word. I really, really do, because I feel like we overuse this word in our society. But he's like, Anie, you're just really authentic and you have an energy that people are drawn to. And he's like, and you care. And he's like, this business needs more people who really, really care. And
not only your businesswoman, let me tell you.
Yeah. So, he really gave me the push that I needed as well. So, get into the business, get my real estate license, and I just went after it. And, a lot of my first clients were my yoga students. And they said, Anie, cool. We already know you. We already love you. We already trust you. We believe in your purpose. Ooh. So, who else would we want to represent us on one of the biggest purchases in our lives than someone who, guides our bodies, guides our minds, and helps keep us grounded?
I want to pause for just a second, because if you're listening to this, the chances there's a high chance that you are looking to grow your business or start your business or wherever you are. And what she just said about her audience, basically knowing you, trusting you, and liking you, that is why they came to you and said, please help me further. And that is what we get to do. That is what we get to do. If you're online or offline, it doesn't matter where your market is. This is about service. And if your audience knows you, likes you, and trusts you, then they will buy from you.
Absolutely.
If you make it about them, if you make it about how you can serve them and what you can do for them, and stop making it about yourself and how to get to your next level, then your business will do whatever the heck you want it to do.
100%.
So thank you for emphasizing that. I absolutely love that. And I think it's really great to have, I've had a lot of different types of people interviewed on this show, but it just goes to show that the real estate market really it can be the same exact model. Yes. The same model works in that too.
Yes. And From the very beginning, I never looked at my clients as paychecks. Never. It wasn't about the money because I had no money.
Love that.
I had nothing, right? And yeah, of course, like we all like nice things and we all would love to be really, really comfortable. But when you come from a place where you have nothing and you're having grapefruits for dinner, you know, any up is up, you know? So it was about really caring and really taking care of people. And it was never about me and my success. It was ensuring that my clients made the best decisions for them and ended up in a place of groundedness and a path to joy. Which is, you know, inevitably as humans is what we're all looking for, right? We're all looking for a sense of stability. We're all looking for a sense of happiness, however you define that. Like we all search for that. So if I could provide that to my clients, whether it's advising them, you know, that maybe this is not the best time to buy, or, you know, maybe this really is a decision that they should make. Then I feel like I've done my service.
I love that. I think it's really interesting, the parallel between you doing this work in this yoga studio, because that in itself it's grounding work, right? Like we have those habitual practices in our schedule and in our life to keep us grounded. Absolutely. It doesn't matter how much belief work we do. We still have to make sure that we're doing, you know, the mind, body, spirit exercises to keep us, you know, aligned.
Yep.
And then you transition into this role of also, I mean, real estate is a grounding practice in itself. Like I still remember when I bought a home, I was like, this is like one of the biggest decisions I've ever made in my life. Yeah. And after you make that decision, there is a part of you that feels a sense of stability, like you've never experienced before, because it is such a grounding experience. You know, you're literally buying land. You're buying a property on a piece of land. I think that's really fascinating. Yeah.
And, you know, it's home. It's home. I think there's something about having a home.
Yep.
There's something about having a home. And, you know, for a lot of people, you know, when I first moved out to Seattle and, you know, was displaced and didn't really know what I was going to do, my yoga mat was my home. And my yoga mat was my sense of security. And being able to provide that sense of security to so many people is so gratifying. Like that feeling alone is invaluable.
So you obviously, you know, from the 11 or 12 minutes of what we just talked about, it's really evident that you really care about people. Like from the AmeriCorps stuff to the yoga studio and how you showed up to that, to being a realtor, all of this follows a trend and a path of you really showing up and serving and caring about people. I would love to hear about what that looks like now in your business and kind of how you take care of your clients.
Absolutely. My biggest thing is listen. Just listen, you know, and if it comes to, you know, hearing what people are saying with their wants and needs in their home, or, you know, body language, you pick up a lot from body language and people, you know, nervousness, and just really catering to where they are on their path. And a lot of people get in this because they feel like they have to, or they feel like they owe me something, right? Like you and I were talking earlier. It's like you start working with a real estate agent, you feel like you have to buy something. Absolutely not. You don't.
Yeah.
Right. You know,
it's so true.
It's like you don't walk into every store and buy everything that you see. That is not your obligation. Your obligation is to yourself. And my job is to support people. And, you know, I do that a lot. And, not just through, you know, selling houses, but I also work a lot in my community to help further other women. I work with Dress for Success. I'm a stylist there, and I help, you know, women prepare themselves for interviews, which I think is
amazing. I didn't know that. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Tell us more about that.
So Dress for Success is a company that helps women who are in unique situations land jobs. Right. So we review resumes, and we help get them Dressed for Success, for lack of
I love
better
it. Is it a
phrasing.
nonprofit?
Yeah, it's a nonprofit.
Cool.
It's all over the country. The Seattle branch is one of the oldest branches. I think it was established in 1993. And I basically go in twice a month. I'm there for about an hour and a half, and I'm assigned a woman. And usually it's a couple days before a job interview, or maybe she just got a job. And I help her pick out, 3 to 4 outfits to help her feel super confident.
I love that. I love that. I think I've actually seen that at a She Chat event. I think I've seen a booth that they have. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Where does this passion and fire inside you come from to really serve people?
I have to come back to my yoga practice. I really believe we're all in it together. We are all in it together, and we are all fighting. And I don't want to say fighting, but we all want the same thing. We all want a sense of groundedness, and we all are searching for happiness and joy and a sense of peace.
Yep.
And I feel like as humans, too many times we're against each other. And if we could just align, if we could just, give each other a hand, we can all make it. There's plenty of money to go around. There's plenty of opportunity for all of us. I feel like one of my biggest struggles when I first got in this industry is like I was looking at everyone else and what they were doing with their business and how they were successful. And I wasn't getting anywhere with like their methods. And then I was like, why am I trying to fight these people? Why not align? I'm not an expert at anything, but if I can join forces with someone who is, we can all get further.
Yes.
And I feel like holding hands with someone else and uniting our forces and uniting our powers is so incredibly powerful. And the more that we can do and the more time that we can invest in taking care of each other, the better we will all be.
I love that. And it's very, very true. There's a little bit of a pattern that shows up in the entrepreneurial world and in business coaching specifically of just really being relayed this information of marketing as a very cookie cutter approach that everyone that gets into online marketing, and I know you do real estate, it's a little bit different, but it really is the same thing. That everyone that gets into online marketing should follow the same marketing process, and that's, how they're going to grow their business. But it's just an illusion. It's really not true. And I see this over and over again with my clients. They all have different gifts. They all have different stuff that they're, wanting to expand and offer. And there isn't one right way for any one of them to do it, because the right and wrong doesn't really exist. It's just a matter of figuring out, like, what does my path look like? How do I want to serve? How do I want to serve my audience? Where is the expansion for me to do this, whether it's online or offline? And what's the best way for me to deliver?
Agreed. And one of, along that point, I realized, I wish I would have realized this sooner, but pretty recently that not every client is my client. I am not the right agent for every single person. And I think when you let that go and you realize that the right people will find you, you're able to move forward. And
I love that. I love that because it just releases that sense of feeling like you have to have all this control about everything that's going on, and that you have to show up for everyone on the planet. Like, that is not our job.
Nope.
It's not our job.
Nope.
It's not our job to be the only real estate agent in Seattle. And it's not my job to be the only business coach on the planet. There's so many freaking other people doing the same things that we're doing. But when we operate from that place of scarcity and competition, we really diminish our own capability for what's next in our life. And if we could just step back and look at how much abundance there really is and how many people there really are that are so gifted and do exactly what you're saying, work together and just work from that place of abundance, then we really don't have anything to worry about.
Same page, sister.
I love it. So you even go above and beyond. When we first got on here, you guys didn't see this part or hear this part, but Anie, you had a stack of like hundreds of Christmas cards that you're sending to your clients, past and new, and all this kind of stuff. And you bake cookies for them. And you were telling me about some really amazing things that you do just for clients that you've worked with, and going and checking out their renovations after they've done them. I would just love to hear about your client relationship. I find that I love the way that you were sharing how that looks in your life. I think it's really fascinating.
Yeah. My business is not transaction based. I don't care how many transactions I do a year. It doesn't matter. I don't care what my volume is. I don't look, people are like, how much money did you make last year? I was like, I don't know. I have no earthly clue. And that is kind of terrifying, but it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. I adore my clients and the people I am blessed to work with. And I actively choose to remain in their lives. When I have a client move in, I always check in with them a few weeks later. I'll send them a thank you note or give them a call. I call at least one client a week and I'm like, hey, how are you doing? How's the remodel? How's your son, Jimmy? Everything good? Like, how are your neighbors? Are they still crazy? Just to make sure that people are still enjoying their lives. Like, what can I do? Do you need a plumber? I do a lot of pop buys for people who are doing remodels and I'm like, oh yeah, I want to come check it out. I want to see what you've done with the place. Do you need suggestions for what's trendy with wall colors? I'm here for everything that they need real estate related. On people's 1-year anniversaries, I like to, reach out. I'm like, happy anniversary. They're like, it's not my anniversary. I'm like, it's your anniversary of buying your house. People are like, oh, okay. You remember that? I'm like, yeah, of course I remember that. Like, it's exciting. It's a big deal. And, I'll usually be like, hey, your value's gone up $50,000. Here's this comparative market analysis for you. And I never ask for anything in return. I just want to facilitate those relationships and let people know that they're still on my mind and I still care about them. And then they were not just a paycheck to me.
I love that. And if you're listening to this and you're a bit skeptical, I just want you to know Annie's done really well for herself and it didn't take long. And it just goes to show that business model, it works. And not only do you have that monetary value that everyone thinks that they're looking for, you have the fulfillment. You're happy. You're joyful. Yeah. You're in a beautiful home right now. Like, you have a really great life. And I can hear that energy as you're talking about this, of that it's not just like, what's my revenue? How many sales am I going to make this month? This is about so much more.
Yes.
This is about, and that's just, the name of the show is Abundantly Clear for a reason. Like, it's about having like an abundantly clear life. It's not just about the revenue. And when we give ourselves permission to operate from that place, everything kind of just takes care of itself. Would you agree with that?
1000%. Once you let go of control and you say, hey, my goal is to serve, everything just falls into place. Everything really just falls into place.
Was that a struggle for you to really believe that you had it in you to make this work out and to let go of that control? Because you went from like scrubbing the floor of a yoga studio to now having a very thriving business. What internal kind of struggles did you go through?
Oh man.
In that time?
It was really hard. It was really hard to trust myself and trust the process. In the beginning, like I said, I was chasing other people's paths. I was like, oh, what they're doing, they're really successful. Like I need to be doing what they're doing. Are they spending thousands of dollars on marketing? Are they doing Zillow? How are they generating business? Where is this coming from? Instead of just being authentically Annie and, forging those relationships, setting up.
Is that your branding? Authentically Annie?
Oh my God, no, but I love it.
Oh my God, I love it. It is now.
Oh, we're on to something, girl. Yeah, but it takes a while to trust yourself. And coming back to the yoga practice. And every single morning I am up by 6 a.m. every single morning. And I have at least 2 hours before, the rest of the world starts reaching out. And that's the time where I take my dog on a walk. I do some reflections. I set my intentions for the day. And sometimes my intention is just getting out of the funk of being irritated, with life or, whatever. But having that quiet time set aside every single day, I set aside time to go work out. To take care of myself, whether it's, 20 minutes on my yoga mat or, working out with my personal trainer or going on a quick run or meeting a friend over at Soul Cycle. I take that time for me to press the reset button and think when you create that space for yourself and when you create that space to grow and, come back to what's important to you, everything falls into place.
I love that so much because it really, Annie and I were kind of laughing about this before we jumped onto this interview. It doesn't matter how much you believe in yourself. If you do not have your habits in place, you're going to be a crazy woman. Yes. If I did not make time for myself to go to yoga and to slow down and to do, a lot of what you're saying, like we have a lot of similar practices. If I did not create the space for that, I would be a crazy person. Yeah. And it does not matter how much I believe in myself or how much I know that it's possible. There still comes a point you get to a point where you have to go, okay, what does my schedule look like? What am I doing? I'm ready to take control of my time.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of people, I get the excuse, I don't have time. And you know what? There's plenty of days where I feel like I need like 30 days in a day. I'm 30 hours in a day. I would love to have, 30 days in a day. Let's be real. 30 hours in a day. But in the mornings, I write out a list or sometimes I do it the night before. So I'm not up at, 2:00 in the morning. I'm like, oh my God, I have to remember to do this. But, I'll make a list and I'll be like, okay, what do I need to make a priority? And you always make time for things that are important to you. And if you don't make time for it, it's like, when you have friends and you just put people off, it's like, you can make time for anything. You can make time for anything.
You can make time for anything. That is a powerful statement. It really is. It might seem really simple because it is really simple, but there's so much power in that because we've gotten to this point where it's almost like being busy is an identity. Oh. It's like, oh, how are you doing? Oh, great. Things have been so busy. Like, what kind of response is that?
So annoying.
What does that actually mean?
Yes. So annoying. And you know what? I find myself using the fact that I'm busy as an excuse. And I hate that. And I hate
an excuse for what?
Just an excuse. Like people are like, how are you? I'm like, oh, I've been so busy. And then I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, what does that even mean? What does being busy even mean? And I've tried to provide, it's like when people ask how you are, like, oh, I'm okay. Well, what does okay even mean? And instead of being busy, creating time and allowing myself more space, right? So being more methodical about what I'm doing rather than just being busy.
And it starts with you giving yourself permission to put yourself first.
Yeah.
And that being okay.
Yep. You have to.
And that can be really challenging.
I'm a firm believer. If you can't take care of yourself, how the hell are you going to take care of everyone else?
Absolutely. And I'm a former complete workaholic because it was so ingrained into me. Like I just didn't know any different. Yeah. I thought like there was the lens that I was looking through was if I work really hard, then that means that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. But that doesn't make sense. I remember like when I had a more traditional role, working in an engineering firm, I remember just feeling like, oh, well, I probably should just work a little more instead of going to yoga today. But really, I didn't need to work more. It was just the lens that I was looking through that was just so foggy about some type of identity thing that I had of working more. Yeah. As if it meant something about me and who I am and gave me like some type of weird fulfillment, but it was a total illusion. Yeah. I mean, none of that is real.
It's about quality of life and not quantity of life. And I think in this society, it's really, hours are associated with dollars. The more I do, the more money I'll make, but that's not necessarily the truth. And especially in my industry, I could literally work all day. There is not a lack of stuff that I could be doing. But in the end of the day, it's just stuff. And I find making these lists of priorities and things that I want to accomplish is a great way for me to stay focused. And like, hey, this is actually what I really need to invest my time in today. And I'm going to fit in yoga because I really need to breathe and I need to stretch and I need to, let it all out so that I can be more present for the people who are in my life.
I love that. I just, everything that you're saying, I'm just like nodding my head the whole time. Yep. We're speaking the same language. We were speaking the same language. How do you prioritize how much time you give to your clients with all of the stuff that you do with them to keep those relationships still thriving?
Some people are a little more needy than others. Mm-hmm. And I give people as much time as they need. I really do. I really think that in the time that I spend with people, I don't ever want people to feel rushed. I don't ever want people to feel inconvenienced. And making yourself available and genuinely available. Sometimes when people are there and like, I experience this with a lot of my friends who are new moms, which is great and amazing. And I get it. Like the kid is your priority, but when you're out with like a new mom and their kids there, or like, their kids with a babysitter, like they're not really there. Right?
Yeah.
And you have like this hour of their time, but like you really don't have the hour of their time. So I make it a point when I'm with clients, like I don't look at my phone. Like I'm not doing anything else. Like you have me. You have everything you need. You have my undivided attention. And in my business, it's not a lot. Most people, it's a couple hours a week, which is accommodating. Everyone else's lives are busy. So I really make enough time for them. But mind you, I get up early and make sure that I make time for myself first so that I can give them that time. And I'm not searching for, I'm not searching or trying to plug in the extra that I need because I've already fulfilled it.
So you fill your cup first.
Yep. Every morning. Absolutely.
So then you can show up to your business.
Yep. Absolutely.
I love it.
And sometimes I switch it around and I'm like, okay, like I'm just not feeling it. I'm just going to lay in bed and I'm going to breathe for 30 minutes and that's going to be my time today. But I think really acknowledging what you need and being on the same page as you really helps you get on the same page as everyone else.
And sometimes that's what you need. This whole self-practice thing doesn't necessarily have to look like a strict, rigid routine. Yeah. It can look like I'm going to lay in bed for 30 minutes and breathe because that's what I feel like I need to do right now.
Yep.
It's about being intentional and honoring your body and your mind and letting all parts of you really communicate to what do I need in this moment? Like, what do I need this morning before I start my day? Or what do I need at the end of the day to close it off so that I'm not, going to sleep stressed out with all the stuff that's happened throughout the day.
Yep.
It gets to be simple. And that's one of those things I think too, that creating those habits is a really important and powerful thing. But even society's even kind of taught us how to create the exercise and self-care practice in a way that sometimes isn't sustainable for everyone. Yeah. Because there's this shame that's associated with, oh, well, if I don't work out for 45 minutes today, then I haven't done it right.
Yeah. I agree.
Maybe you have 20 minutes. Maybe you have 20 minutes to go on a walk. Maybe you have 20 minutes to work out. Yep. So do it.
And, one of the things that I would suggest to people who are in sales or in real estate or, whatever, like my clients, I literally get text messages and phone calls all hours. Like you would be amazed. And I put my phone on a sleep mode. So I literally don't get notifications anytime after 9 p.m. or anytime before 7 a.m. And that really just facilitates that time where like, this is my cutoff, and though I don't like people, to say no to people or, not be super responsive. I think it's really important to create those healthy boundaries.
Yes.
And expectations. And people realize they're like, oh yeah, you do have a life, don't you? And I'm like, yeah, I'll take your phone call between 7 a.m. and 9 p.m. I think that's more than reasonable. But other than that, I'm going to be taking care of myself.
And it starts with you instilling that boundary so that your clients can show up and be the clients that you want them to be. That's something that I find I have a lot of conversations with about like just the general, oh, my clients are doing this or my clients are doing that, or I keep attracting these type of clients. And it really goes back to, well, what type of energy are you putting off? And what kind of boundaries are you putting in place with your clients? Because your relationship with your clients starts with what you're projecting out.
Oh, heck yes. For sure.
I love that. Last question for you, Anie. Do you have goals or do you just roll with it?
Oh man, loaded question. I always have goals, and I have a goal, and it's for every day. And this is the one goal that I come back to the most, because sometimes, I feel like my goals change and they're constantly evolving. And, sometimes I reach things and sometimes, I overexceed things. But the one that keeps me really grounded and I think is actually great for a lot of people is if I can just wake up every single morning and be 1% better than I was yesterday, then I've completely succeeded. And, maybe that's in my workout. Maybe that's, in being more present. If I can just be 1% better, then I can't fail.
Yes. Again. Yes. I feel like I've said, I love it after everything that you've said.
Same wavelength, girl. We're on the same wavelength.
Oh, it's so good. Okay. This was a really, really, really great conversation. Thank you so much for showing up today and having us.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for having me. It was such a pleasure. I love it.
Thank you. And if you're in the Seattle area and you're looking for a real estate agent, how would you suggest that anybody that's listening that wants to reach out to you, how would they find you?
Oh, awesome. Feel free to visit my website, www.aniebhomes.com. And that's Annie spelled with one N. So ANIEBHOMES.com. Yeah. Shoot me an email there. I also have videos. You can learn more about me, even though I'm sure, you know my life story now. So I don't know how much more you want to know, but.
Awesome. Thank you. And she'll be changing that website to authenticallyannie.com pretty soon here because I'm just kidding. No, thank you so much. And thank you if you're listening, and we will see you next week on Abundantly Clear.
Woo!
Thanks for listening. As you put these concepts and practices into action, you'll begin to see the benefits of living an abundantly clear life. To connect with Malorie and other high performers, join the Abundantly Clear Entrepreneurs community on Facebook or visit malorie-nicole.com.